Hey everyone, so our topic is Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, let's just call him Ridge, was a renowned poet, writer, and scholar. Born in the town of Audrey St. Mary, Devonshire, he was an enthusiastic student. He grew up to be an accomplished scholar.
He went to Jesus College but found little intellectual stimulation there. He soon fell into loneliness, apatheticness, and debt, and fled to London to join the Light Dragoons. While working with the Dragoons, he went under the alias of Silas Tompkins Cumberbatch.
He was absolutely terrible at his job. So terrible that he was in fact one of the worst dragoons in British military history. After his unfortunate service in the Dragoons, he met Robert Southey in 1794. The two had similar radical political and religious interests, so they clicked. Coleridge and Southey wanted to establish an ideal democratic society in America. They coined a term for their society, a pantisocracy. Yeah, that's an interesting name, isn't it?
Pantisocracy signifies equal rule for all. An American real estate agent told them Pennsylvania would be ideal for it. Coleridge got engaged to Sarah Feaker, Southey's fiance's sister. Coleridge ran through his marriage, resolved but wretched.
Coleridge met Wordsworth eventually, and Wordsworth liked him in his poetry so much that he called him the best poet of the age. Coleridge and Wordsworth eventually became best friends, and they worked together on many projects. They even gave each other lines for their poems. Coleridge suffered from rheumatism, which is essentially a disorder in which you feel spasms of pain suddenly in your joints or in muscles. For this, he took high dosages of laudanum, which is essentially opium dissolved into alcohol. Sadly, what Coleridge soon realized was the drug was worse than his actual rheumatism. Go figure. Coleridge eventually became a drug addict. He became addicted to laudanum. During his depression, he wrote a poem, Dejection, an ode. Essentially, this is Coleridge saying goodbye to his health, his happiness, and his poetry. Soon he became broken and depressed, and eventually he had a falling out with Wordsworth in 1810. But that didn't stop Coleridge. Eventually, he kept writing. And soon enough, he had success in Drury Lane Theatre, which allowed him to move up in the world. He moved to a suburb called Highgate, and was under the supervision of a physician, and a very qualified physician at that. His name was James Aylman. He managed to control Coleridge's laudanum addiction, and eventually, Coleridge became happy and prosperous again. He made up with his wife and Wordsworth too. And that's when his life started getting back on track, but sadly, he was near the end of his life as well.
Happy feet, one more combo. That ain't
The mariner stopped a wedding guest at the entrance of the wedding and began to tell his story. The mariner was in a ship sailing down near Antarctica, but the ship got caught in an ice field. The mariner shot the albatross showing up to lead the ship out of the danger, and soon the ship was becalmed and the sailors were out of water. Everyone died except for the mariner, who later escaped his curse by unconsciously blessing water snakes. Angels and another supernatural spirit filled the dead sailors' bodies and pushed the boat forward. The mariner was saved by a man named the Hermit after that. When the mariner was on shore, he was so desperate that he stopped the wedding guest and told the story. After knowing the story, the wedding guest doesn't want to enter the wedding anymore and becomes a sadder and a wiser man, as described in the poem.
The Mariner is a literary ballad which narrates the story and can be sung due to its rhyming pattern. The poem uses many types of literary devices. The Mariner uses alliteration. Lines 102 to 103 are an example of this. They go as, the furrow follows free. Assonance is also used. Lines 21 to 22, the ship was cheered, the harbor cleared. Consonance as well. Lines 27 to 28, and he shone bright, and on the right. Hyperbole too. Lines 119 to 122. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Lastly, metaphor is used too. On lines 281 to 282, they coiled a swan, and every track was a flash of golden fire. The themes of the Mariner are as follows. Pride. The Mariner shoots the albatross due to his pride of thinking that the sailors could be safe about the bird. However, that action brings about drought and death to the crew. Next up is suffering. Suffering is what makes the Mariner realize all of the nature's creatures are worthy of love and respect. Finally, the supernatural. The poem uses many supernatural figures derived from mythology and the Bible. Those supernatural figures play important roles in the building of the story. Now at this point, we're going to pause the video and read an excerpt of the story to you. Woohoo! Can't wait.
That ain't Falco.
And now I will be going over Coleridge's poem, Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan was written because another poet Coleridge worked with, Byron, insisted it to be. The poem was written in the summer of 1797. Coleridge had retired due to poor health to his farmhouse to recover. Coleridge had taken an anodyne prescribed by his doctor. Coleridge's anodyne was basically 2 grains of opium. Coleridge was actually reading about a character named Kubla Khan while under the effects, and he fell asleep. Coleridge... While he was asleep, Coleridge had dreamt the author had continued the story. When he awoke, he immediately began to write what he saw in his dream. Basically, this was a poem about the palace Kubla had built. The literary devices in Kubla Khan are mainly literary devices of sound, like assonance, alliteration, and internal rhyme. The themes include an appreciation of nature and architecture, whatever the pleasure dome may or may not be. Now I bet you're wondering who Kubla Khan might be. Well, Kubla Khan is a prominent figure in Asian history. He's known for founding the Mongol dynasty in China in the 13th century, and no, I am not reading from the textbook, so don't ask me if I am. Alright, so thanks for watching our video on Samuel Taylor Coleridge, or Silas Tonkin Cumberbatch, if you want to call him that. I don't really care. Anyways, yeah, so overall, yeah, opium addict, good poet though. His opium addiction inspired him to write some crazy poetry too. Ooh. Yeah, it's 3 in the morning right now. I need to upload a video, which is gonna take 5 hours.
僕に任せて